Hey everyone, it's Jen and welcome to the ChromaCrowns YouTube channel. Now this is part 2 of my 2-part video explaining how I did my hair. Now hopefully you guys got here from the first video where I explained how I use the Malibu Sea DDL crystals to lift my hair a little bit to get it ready for the color application, which you will see in this video. Now in this video I used a combination of Pravana Vivids and also Joico Color Intensity to create this look. Now in the first video I already explained this, but I figured I should explain it again. Now this color has now been faded for 3 weeks, including 1 full week in Hawaii, snorkeling, swimming, being out in the sun exposed to UV rays. And I'm thinking the color's holding on pretty well. So in this video I will explain to you how I mixed my color, how I applied it, how I processed it, and finished results. So stay tuned. For today, I'm gonna mix up 3 different colors. I'm gonna mix up a root color and 2 different colors to pull through my ends. So first off, let's start out with my root color. I'm gonna be mixing the Pravana Vivids. I'm gonna be mixing the Wild Orchid and the purple together. The Wild Orchid is so pretty, but it's a little light for me of what the depth I'm looking for, so I'm gonna do just the smallest bit of the purple just to deepen it a little bit. So the other 2 formulas I'm going to be using is a blue and a purple to pull through the ends. And I like to do a couple different formulas so that it looks more multi-dimensional instead of just one flat color. So for the blue, what I'm going to be mixing is the Joico Color Intensity Cobalt Blue with their clear. And that's just going to be able to give me a little bit more time for it to process without it going too dark and inky at my ends. So that's why I use a little bit of clear. And then the second color I'm going to use on my ends is going to be the Joico Color Intensity in light purple. And this is a little light for me. I do love the tones in it. So I'm going to just use the smallest P of Pravana Violet within this. Now I know probably some of you are thinking, why is she mixing the Joico Color Intensity with the Pravana Vivids? But I do. It's the same thing. It ends up being fine. So I do it all the time and it works for me. Do whatever works for you guys. Okay, here's the formulation for my root color. I'm going to do a whole tube of the Pravana Vivids Wild Orchid and a little bit of the violet. Now as you can see, I'm only adding the violet little by little just to make sure it doesn't get too dark. I always check my mixed color on a white paper towel to make sure I have the right tones that I'm looking for. Now this is one of my colors that I'm mixing for my ends. I'm going to do a whole tube of the Color Intensity Cobalt Blue and a little bit of the clear. Now once again, I'm only doing the clear little by little just to make sure I'm getting the right effect. Now here's my purple formulation. I'm doing about 1 full tube of the Color Intensity Light Purple and adding little bits of the Pravana Violet. Once again, little by little, just to make sure it doesn't get too dark. Checking all 3 colors on my paper towel, and this is my color palette. I already sectioned my hair out into 4 quadrants, basically using a standard T-parting, and I'm going to start out with my root color. So continuing on with this magenta that I have, I'm going to go ahead and do the Wild Orchid and Violet Pravana mix on my root. So now what I like to do to make things easier is I'll actually take my color and I'll trace around each section just so that I can keep everything really clean. So when I lift up the front hair, I'm going to actually just pull it up and backwards and paint it right onto my hair. Now if you do get color on your face where you don't want it, make sure you wipe it off right away. So I always have a damp towel with me, and I make sure to wipe it away as soon as it touches my face because then it won't stain. All right, there we go. So I'm now going to take my first section and separate it out into about 1/2-inch sections. And you're going to want to make sure you saturate both the top and underside of each section. So now once this first section is completed, I then take the hair and I gently place it down to process. Now I don't like to smush it down because then this top hair is gonna get some purple on it from underneath. So I like to leave it straight off the head and pulled away from the face so that it doesn't fall on your face. And I just like to pull it away and keep it off while I work on the next section. Now, as you guys can see, I am only going down the root only about, what is that, about 2 to 3 inches, because I do want to create more of a shadow root. I like it to be one color at the root and a couple different colors towards the ends. So I'm dragging mine out a few inches. Of course, this is your creative decision where you guys want to take this. So, of course, place the color where you want, but this is just how I'm doing it. All right, so there are the 2 front sections. I probably look a little crazy, but this is the best way to show you guys how I'm doing this. So this is what it looks like from the top, the side. And like I said, I'm only keeping it just a couple inches away from my base. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on application of the root color on the back 2 sections. Now I sometimes use a second mirror to help me with the back. So this is just my vanity mirror. And what I like to do is I like to hold it and make sure I have everything saturated before I move on to the next section. Now I find that it's easier to do large vertical sections when doing the back of my head. So I will take sections from the top of my head all the way down to my nape vertically and paint all the way across on each side of the section to make sure I get full saturation. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a weirdo perfectionist to make sure that every single hair is perfectly saturated, because with these vivid colors, you have to make sure that every strand is coated because you will get patchiness if it's not. All right, so here I am applying the color in the back sections again with the same vertical pattern. Like I said before, it makes it so much easier to do a few large sections versus a ton of small horizontal sections. So this vertical technique works best for me. So now that my root color is done, here comes the fun part. So this is where the purple and the blue come into play, and I'll show you guys how I do that. So let me get situated. I have the purple here and the blue here. And I'm going to go ahead and section out my hair again into 3 big sections. I'm gonna do the sides, and then the back is gonna be 1 big section. So I'm gonna clip them about here just to get them out of the way. I know it looks weird, but just trust me, it works. So I'm just gonna pull it forward and make sure you're clipping where there's no color. Just gonna get it out of the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and take large horizontal sections across the back, and I will show you what I do next. So now I'm gonna drop down my first section. So I usually go about mid-ear, all the way across. Okay, so now this part I like to do with my hands. It just makes it a little easier for me. But you can use your tint brush, you can use whatever. But make sure you have a damp towel with you. So I'm going to grab this corner right behind my ear. And I'm going to make sure it is fully saturated at the roots using my fingers. Now I don't want to drag this color down anymore. I'm just mushing it around to make sure everything is saturated. So this is my first section. And I'm gonna use the blue for this section. And I'm gonna use my hand as a rest. And I'm gonna just take my fingers into the blue. I'm just gonna grab it just like that. And I'm going to paint it on from the root color all the way through. Now I like to use my hands for this because I feel like you can get the saturation a lot better instead of using a tint brush. You can actually feel the color between your fingers, or at least hopefully your gloved fingers, and you can feel if the saturation goes all the way through. I also feel like it's kind of like painting or finger painting, so it makes it really fun. And where the root color meets the blue, I'm gonna actually take my fingers around and scissor the two colors together. Now I like this technique for color melting, even permanent colors. I do this a lot when I'm doing funky colors like this. But it helps to create that now third color in between the root color and the end color, so that you have a seamless melt, so that it doesn't look like one color stops and the other color started. So now that that is thoroughly saturated, I'm going to drop it right here. So in the very back nape section, I usually take about 3 big sections. And then now I'm gonna go for the purple. Okay, so now all that I have left in the back, in the nape area, is this one last section in the corner. So because I started with blue and then did purple in the center, this is now going back to blue. I'm gonna go ahead and work this pattern all the way up, alternating the purple and the blue. Just make sure that you're bricklaying as well. So that means that if there's purple here and a blue here, make sure that you have something here. Whatever color you choose to grab, whatever is your decision, that's where this kind of gets fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish with the blue on this last section, and I'm gonna go ahead and go through the entire head, and I'll see you in a second once I'm done. Alright, so here I am taking little sections and painting on a different color along each section. Just picking and choosing whichever color I felt like grabbing in that moment. As I worked towards the top, I did want to create a small veil of blue, so I just wanted to make sure that those top sections were blue and right around my face are blue, because those were the colors I wanted to pop the most. So I just placed those in my 2 front sections, in the front and on the sides. Now I find this technique is awesome if you have a side bang like I do. If you part right down the middle of your head and have just that big front section be the pop of color, once you style your hair, you get this great little pop right in the front, which is like the money piece. Alright, so this is now what it looks like now that everything's been applied. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pile it up on top of my head and let it process for about an hour. I know recommended instructions by both Pravana and Joico Color Intensity does recommend only about 20 to 30 minutes processing time, but like I said, I feel like those are just guidelines, and I like to let my color sit for a little bit longer just to soak in as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take everything and pile it all together. And if some of you are wondering if the colors are all going to blend together, yeah, probably a little bit, but all the different sections that are already saturated with each individual color have already been absorbed and saturated for that particular section. So what I do now isn't really going to affect the total outcome. If anything, it'll just meld it all together, but I'm okay with that. So now it's just processing time, and I'll see you guys in about an hour. Alright, so now that I've completed the color application all over my head, I put a bag over it and let it sit and process at room temperature for a full hour. And then when I jumped in the shower, I made sure to rinse in really cold water, or as cold as you can stand, and use a color hold shampoo and conditioner. Alright guys, so these are the final results. This is after I shampooed my hair and blow dried on the day of coloring, and I'm so happy with the results. I love the dimension, I love the different tones going throughout, loving that blue in the front pieces, and I'm just so happy with the results, and I hope you guys like it too. Alright guys, well there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and if you have any questions, please leave them in a comment down below. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!